Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive into something pretty revolutionary, a new way to think about your health, your energy, and even how you age. And it's all thanks to the incredible work of Dr. Martin Picard. It really starts with a question that, let's be honest, we all ask ourselves at some point.
Yeah, this one. Why do we have less energy as we get older? You know, a famous neuroscientist actually asked his colleague this exact thing. He was like, why are we so tired as we age, and why is nobody working on this? It just feels like this inevitable thing, right? Like a slow slide we're all supposed to just accept. But what if that's totally wrong?
And could reversing gray hair actually hold the key? I know, it sounds wild. But get this, in Dr. Picard's lab, they found something absolutely astonishing. They discovered that hair going gray, the classic sign of getting older, isn't always a one-way street. Turns out it can actually be reversed. And this one little finding just blows the doors open on a radical new idea. Maybe aging isn't the straight line down. Maybe our biology is listening to our lives way more than we ever thought possible.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we have to rewind a bit and ask a question that sounds super simple, but is actually pretty deep. What is energy, really? I mean, we talk about having it or not having it all the time, but do we ever stop to think about what it actually is? Well, probably the best definition comes from a physicist named Nosha Dor, who said energy is just the potential for change. That's it. It's not just calories, not just the stuff in your food. It's the basic power to make something happen, to contract a muscle, to fight off a cold, even to have a thought. Think about it. The only real difference between a living person and a dead one isn't the cells. It's the energy flowing through them. And here's the kicker. Something that's kind of mind-bending. We don't actually feel energy itself. We feel the change in energy, right? Just think about being in a car. If you're cruising at a perfectly steady speed and you close your eyes, you have no idea if you're going 100 miles an hour or if you're parked. You only feel it when you hit the gas or slam on the brakes. You feel the change. It's the exact same thing in our bodies. That feeling of energy is actually the feeling of energy being moved around and transformed.
So the big question is, where is all this transformation happening? Well, to find out, we have to take a little journey inward. We're going to go from this big abstract idea of energy all the way down to the tiny microscopic engines humming away inside almost every single one of your cells.
Okay, let's talk about mitochondria. We all remember this from high school biology, right? Mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. But that's like saying your smartphone is just a thing that makes calls. It's true, but it misses the entire point. Dr. Picard has this amazing way of putting it. He says they're not just powerhouses, they're more like antennas, constantly sensing our world, our psychological experiences, even our thoughts, and then translating all of that into our actual organ health. So how on earth do they do that? Well, imagine an old-school Morse code operator. They've got this raw electrical current, right? It's just power. But by tapping a key, they turn that raw power into a very specific patterned message, SOS. Your mitochondria do something very, very similar. They take the raw fuel, the food you eat, the oxygen you breathe, and first they build up this electrical charge. Then they transform that raw charge into incredibly specific patterned signals for your body. Things like ATP to make a muscle move, or hormones that send messages everywhere. So you see, they're not just making raw power, they're creating information.
And this brings us to the real core idea here, the big metaphor for this whole explainer, thinking about your body like its own little economy. It's a closed system, and every single day it operates on a finite energy budget.
Now, this is a huge shift from how we used to think. For decades, the simple equation was more food equals more energy. Just eat more. But we now know that's completely wrong. In fact, trying to stuff more fuel in than the system can handle just overwhelms and damages everything. Your body has a hard cap, a limit on how much energy it can process in a day. So the real game isn't about how much energy you can cram in. It's about how you spend the budget you have.
So let's look at the books. Your daily energy budget basically gets split into 3 main spending accounts. The biggest chunk, by far, goes to your vital functions, the non-negotiables, keeping your heart beating, your brain firing, all that stuff. Then you have a really important account for growth and repair. This is for healing, building muscle, learning, all the long-term projects. And finally, there's a third account set aside for handling stress. And this is where the trade-off becomes crystal clear. So what happens when you're under a lot of chronic stress? Well, your body has to activate that very expensive stress response. But remember, the budget is finite. So where does that energy come from? It doesn't just appear. The body literally steals it from the growth and repair account. And that's why chronic stress makes us feel so run down.
It's why wounds heal slower, why we get sick more often, and why it literally speeds up aging. It's like a massive hidden tax that's draining your long-term health fund.
Okay, now we get to what is, for me, the most fascinating part of this whole story. Let's look at how our mind, our actual state of mind, directly messes with this energy budget.
So let's go back to that gray hair study. This is just amazing. The researchers were tracking one woman's hair and they found a single strand that told a story. It was growing dark, then for a tiny 2-centimeter section, it went completely white, and then it started growing dark again. So they asked her what was going on in your life. And when they mapped it out, that white segment lined up perfectly with the single most stressful 2-month period of her life. Her psychological state was literally written, molecule by molecule, into her hair. And then, when the stress was over, her body was able to put energy back into that growth and repair account for making pigment, and boom, the hair went dark again. It's a visible, physical timeline of her body's energy budget in action. Just incredible.
And it's not just about the bad stuff, not just about stress taking energy away. This works in the other direction too. In another mind-blowing study, scientists found that people who reported having a greater sense of purpose in their life, people who felt their life had meaning, their brain mitochondria actually had a higher capacity to transform energy. So think about what that means. Our positive feelings, purpose, connection, well-being, they're not just nice to have. They are actively, physically upgrading the energy systems inside our own cells.
So here's the bottom line, the big takeaway. We are not just passive victims watching our energy slowly drain away as we get older. No way. We are the active managers, the CEOs of our own personal energy economy. And every choice we make is an investment or a withdrawal from our own longevity.
And you know that old idea that your genes pretty much decide how long you're gonna live? Well, you can pretty much forget it. The best, most current studies show that our genes only account for about 7% of our longevity. 7. The other 93%, that's all lifestyle, environment, and the choices we make day in and day out. You are in the driver's seat of your own lifespan.
So, if you're the CEO, what are the best investments you can make in your personal energy company? Well, they're exactly what all this research points to. We're talking about quality sleep, which lowers your operating costs and frees up budget for repair. We're talking about actively managing stress, so it stops raiding your long-term health fund. Finding a sense of purpose to literally supercharge your brain's mitochondria. Eating in a way that fuels the system without overwhelming it, and exercising smartly to build a bigger, more efficient energy-producing machine.
When you boil it all down, your energy is your life. It's the potential for every single thing you do, for every experience you'll ever have. It is, without a doubt, your most valuable and most limited currency. So, the real question I want to leave you with is, where are you investing yours?